Hello everybody, my name is Alex, I'm co-founder of Amass, and in this video I will show you how R&D leadership teams in biopharma can use the Amass platform to make critical go or no-go decisions on internal projects. So imagine you're looking at a certain project that is presented by your internal project team that is presenting the newest findings and evidence you have gathered internally. One of the key steps is, of course, to validate claims and findings against the outside world. What is going on outside my organization? This can be a very tedious task, a very manual task, and also a task where you need to rely on a lot of people compiling information, but it's much easier to actually go into Amass and check yourself, look for information yourself. Let me show you how you can do that. I'm now in the Amass platform, and for this example, I prepared an example question, which is what is the clinical evidence that dual amylin GLP-1 agonism provides synergistic weight loss beyond GLP-1 alone? And also how the assets preclinical claims compare to published outcomes from competitors. One of the things that is key to Amass is that to get answers to your questions, you can select and also get suggestions for the data context to look at. So the first thing I'm going to do here is ask a suggestion where the Amass platform is suggesting to look at PubMed, research beyond PubMed, patents, clinical trials, and web sources for these questions. For all of those, I can go in and further select or unselect different data sources of external information. What is critical here, of course, in this scenario, I also have internal evidence. Internal documents, our PowerPoint presentation, for example, where my project team summarizes the key insights. I can use these as datasets, for example, where I have an amylin dataset that contains previously uploaded documents that I collected in the Amass platform and then can reuse across different places. So in this case, really, I want to cross-check internal documents from my dataset with external evidence. Let me start the task. So you can see here now that the Amass platform is working on the task by first searching in the context across external and internal evidence and sources. And we will then synthesize the information, apply different validation and reasoning layers, transparently citing the sources to get answers to the questions, and lastly composing the final answer. Great, our task is done now. Let's look at the answer. So one of the key things in the answer is that you have references to citations clearly marked as the blue dots here. If we look at citation number 1, we can actually see that this comes from one of the internal documents that I uploaded. And it's a presentation looking at amylin. And here you can see specific context, specific parts extracted from the presentation and put into context here in the answer. If I scroll down, you will see here, for example, references 3 and 4 are papers that are referenced here. We also show you clear metadata around who the authors, which journal, when the paper was published, and how often it has been cited. Of course, you can also go to PubMed directly by clicking the link here if you want to look at the full document. So to scroll down, the answer then summarizes different indication across the data context that we selected. And I can now go in and dig deeper. One of the ways of digging deeper is suggestions for follow-up questions. The Amass platform is giving you those based on information that comes from the data context, but it was not part of your original question. So you can be sure that these relate actually to the question that is of interest, but also help you identify blind spots in your original question. So for this follow-up question, I can again go in and select the data context. So let's say I want to remove my internal documents and only focus on PubMed, research, and yeah, that's it. I can now start this task, but I can also ask for more help in the platform. So in this case, I'm going to our research mode, which I'm going to start here. And what the research mode is going to do is locate my question, look at the full context of the documents that I have, the data context that was used in previous answers, and I suggest actually a 5-step plan to tackle this problem and help me identify, okay, what is going on around GLP-1 and Emmeline and how they actually work together. I can now go in, look at the plan, remove specific questions, bring in my own expertise, add new steps if I want them, and again, revisit the data context here. This will then start a research task, which will give you a much longer form output, looking at all the 3 questions that we're suggesting here, and come up with an answer to the plan we're defining here. So this is how the Amass platform can help R&D leadership teams in biopharma make critical go and no-go decisions on internal projects by checking internal evidence against public and information out there, saving hours of time. And it's easy to get started. You can just go to app.amass.tech and try yourself.